Green Romantic here. How are you guys doing today? Today I want to talk about being gender fluid. What even is gender fluid? A lot of you have probably heard the term non-binary. So many people have actually come out as non-binary, such as Sam Smith. They recently came out. So you've probably heard the term because they are much more famous than I am. I mean, it could mean that sometimes I'm kind of a butch-looking girl. I mean, it could happen. Or maybe sometimes a kind of queer-looking dude. But honestly, I'm mostly kind of a hermit most of the time anyways. So, how does it actually work? What is gender fluid? Well, when you look at the term gender fluid, it falls underneath the non-binary umbrella. So when you're looking at the non-binary umbrella, there's gender fluid, there's things like gender flux, agender, bigender, demi-guy, demi-girl. There's tons of things. The gender spectrum is basically limitless as far as I'm concerned. As long as you're not trying to be an asshole and identify as an attack helicopter, then as far as I'm concerned, there is no limit. To me, what gender fluid actually means is that my gender shifts between two different points, or many different points even, because what I believe is that gender actually doesn't exist as a spectrum because that's too limited. What I think is that gender is sort of like an atom or even the universe, because the ways that people can experience gender exist on so many different levels that there's no real way to confine it. So when I think of gender, what I think of is that my gender is sort of whizzing around the outside of an atom, going every which way and never really stopping. So one of the main points that I want to make is that it doesn't really matter how I dress. No matter what, I'm gender fluid all the time. So I can dress as a guy, I could dress as a girl, I could dress as sort of like a hermit like I am right now, and I would still be gender fluid. Actually being gender fluid is actually really hard, as I'm sure quite a few trans people can tell you. Existing in a very gendered society makes it very difficult to actually go about being something that is not adhering to gender norms. So when I go out in the public, sometimes I'm dressed as a girl, sometimes a guy, sometimes something in between, and those are just gender expressions. Those don't actually mean that I'm a girl or a guy in that particular moment, or anything really. I guess you could just say that it's like Schrodinger's cat, where you just get a cat who is just going to do what they want, basically. As a gender fluid person, I experience something called dysphoria. Not all trans people do experience dysphoria, but I do. What that means is that sometimes my body does not feel like my body, or that it should belong to me. So sometimes I get dysphoria around my voice, because my voice is sometimes sounding like it doesn't belong to me, or that it's not something that I want my voice to sound like, which I'm sure a lot of people have experienced, because whenever you hear something on a camera, your voice never sounds the way you think it does. Another thing is that I have lower body dysphoria, which means that I really hate having a vagina. It makes me really angry a lot of the time. And especially menstruation, that really makes me angry too. And it doesn't really help that people surround these ideas of body parts as sort of your gender identity, saying that I'm a woman because I have these body parts. It makes it even worse. I just wanted to add a quick disclaimer that I am only talking for myself and my own experiences, because I don't want to talk over anybody else who has gender fluid identity and who has different experiences than me. So if you meet another gender fluid person, possibly ask how they experience gender fluidity instead of just assuming that they experience it in a certain way. Anyways, why would you identify it as an attack helicopter when you could identify it as something cool, like the sound that the leaves make when the wind blows through them in autumn? See? Much better. I joke. Identity is not something that can be shoved into an attack helicopter box. Well, that's it for now, folks. I guess I'll see you next week or whenever I make another one of these videos. See you on the flip side.